Hi. Phil's late. Don't know where he is. Haven't heard back from him. How's everybody doing? This is episode 133 of Snakes and Stogies, which is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Just released sliding front options for the XT8. So that's the 8-foot model, XT4, XT3. And then there is now a single drop-down window version of the XT3 and XA3 as well, which are definitely worth checking out. I'm in the process of actually taking that god-awful Cambro rack I have, swapping that out with some of the XT3s. Not sure which front I want to go with yet, but that'll be figured out at some point. So check them out. More stuff is sort of in the pipeline to get released. And then Petertown Pythons, check them out as well. Facebook, Instagram. I believe they'll have some stuff available here shortly in terms of availability. If you're looking for some ball pythons, they got some pretty cool stuff. Other than that, it's just the usual. Got one more clutch to hatch. That's the thorn scrubs. And those should be hatching. Tomorrow will be 60 days, so probably within the next week or so is the hopes. And that'll be the last clutch of the season. It's hard to believe that it's the whole season just sort of come and gone so quick. So it's just hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you still not see me?
Yeah, you're off camera. There. You're not like in frame.
Yeah. That's because I'm using an old mic stand as a camera tripod now, so I'm not 6 feet from the camera.
Interesting.
I go through these phases of getting these hardcore, gotta make small upgrades and things like that to the studio and how we do things. And
right. Sorry, I'm late. I'm sorry.
Busy putting on your Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, technical difficulties as always. And I'm not wearing a hat. I forgot to grab my hat. It feels weird. It feels weird being on camera with no hat.
You feel naked?
I mean, I don't feel naked because it's like 99 degrees out right now. That's an exaggeration, of course. But I look at myself on camera. I'm like, got some hair going on here.
Ugh. Well, so what I miss? The intro stuff. I was mentioning how I have the last clutch to hatch, which tomorrow will be day 60 on the thorn scrubs, and that the season's just flown by. I feel like I blinked and it went from bringing stuff out of cooling to pairing stuff up to now last clutch, and then it's going to be cooling stuff down again in a couple weeks. It goes by so quick,
so fast. Cray.
What? Mm-mm. What's new with you?
Not too much, man. I was just doing after feed checks, a couple days later, make sure everything did what it was supposed to do, and I almost had a 100% feed week. Almost every single animal ate, all the new stuff ate, all the quarantine, all the long terms, everything ate except for the stiletto. But
of course,
to be expected. So it looks like it's going into another shed cycle, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. If it does, I'll check him in a couple days. If he's super duper blue, then I'll leave him alone. If not, I will. I'm going to start to try different tactics, because I thought maybe just leaving him alone and just giving him a live pinky would do it, but nope. So it's been crap, 5 weeks now. So I don't want to start to see him or her losing weight. So we'll start to try ulterior motives.
Have you been keeping it like dark?
Oh yeah,
Because
it's
I mean, I don't know. If it were me, I'd like throw it in a closet and
well. So I wanted to simulate
let it ride.
normal daytime, nighttime schedules, right? And it's technically northern hemisphere. I mean, if you even want to call it, it's equatorial, but it's in a gasket tub with good airflow, not too much airflow that it's killing the humidity. But I got jungle mix, some sphagnum moss, some dried oak leaves, and then a big water bowl that has like the little lip on it so like it won't like spill out, and a nice piece of cork flat. And I keep the substrate super damp on the water side and gets a light mist on the dry side. And it's already had a perfect shed. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe it's just settling still.
Yeah.
You know, I'd imagine those take a while to really sort of get into the swing of things. And
yeah,
I don't know, but that also seems like a species that would do great if you kind of just forget it exists.
Yeah, and the problem is that nobody knows what a lot of these things eat.
Right.
You know, and I'm consulting the Chimera Bible, and depending on the species, it says either the exact same thing, you know, fossorial, snakes, lizards, and the occasional mammal. And then like some of the animals that are like really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Some of the species that have been highly field collected for specimen, they have the dietary contents of a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And some of them have like mice in them. Some of them have shrews. Most are lizards. And to be honest, most of them are snakes actually, which it doesn't bother me too much because I know Henry has a stockpile of frozen snakes. If I really needed something, you know, or if I really need to like buy a corn snake, I could, or catch a garter or a ribbon or something, I could. But the most common snake species that I was reading in the book that is in their digestion is blind snakes. So I may wind up trying to either put a couple blind snakes in there and see if he eats them, or even using a blind snake to scent like a frozen thawed day old or a frozen thawed blood pink. I was spoiled, man, because like in the past when I had the biberoni, I just put in live pinkies and fuzzies and they just ate them, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I saw a whole nother thing about how because they're so fossorial, people would tube feed them, and by tube feeding I mean put the snake in a tube and then put the prey in the other side. And when the snake comes to the prey, it feels like it's in a burrow and eats it.
And that worked?
And it worked. Huh. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not losing weight or anything like that, and it seems like it's pretty much just maintaining, then
yeah,
I wouldn't sweat it. I don't. I've got one Diones that still has not taken a meal since I hatched, and it's not really losing weight either. So I'm just kind of like,
yeah, just let it do its thing, you know.
Keep offering it to you, and if you don't take it, you don't take it. Huh?
Yeah, but everything else ate. All the new stuff ate. I got Outer Banks Kings from Dr. Loafman, which are so freaking cute, and Sean got some too. And Sean was telling me that I guess they need a hot spot to want to feed. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me try giving them live prey, because I know the other guys, they aren't giving live prey. I said, let me give them each like a day old pink alive and see what it does. And the girl ate like 6 minutes after I put the thing in there. And then the male was like, oh my God, an animal, get away from me. Yeah. But I left it in there overnight. I went to work, came home, and it was gone. And he's got a lump. So rock and roll. And the Woma was stressing me out, man, because I'm like, man, I can't have this thing not eat, you know. And I'm like, I really don't want to have to go through the rigmarole with this thing. And I wound up getting her to eat a fresh killed hopper. So that was it. It worked. So I'm not going to complain.
A win is a win is a win.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes me happy.
I got a pair of Juneau Road Bairds from Brandon McWilliams.
Nice.
He and I have talked for some time about swapping. Yeah. So Got a pair from him in. Those things are freaking flawless.
Nice.
Both ate. Like one, I was holding the pinky in my fingers in front of the mouth of the hide, and I got a little whack from one out of excitement. So
that's good.
They're both ate like no hesitation.
How different do they look compared to your babies?
So the Juneau Road ones are still, if I'm not mistaken, considered like Loma Alta Highway 277 area, like that sort of general Eastern Range sort of phenotype. So they have that sort of higher silver, but these are like way lighter in color than my Loma Altas that I hatched. Like I mean, it's wild, and honestly, I think they look better than the Loma Altas do.
Is it more of like a pale gray, or is it more silvery?
Yeah, it's a much lighter gray. So those are going to be stunners. Sending his out tomorrow.
Cool.
I'm really hoping FedEx doesn't have any like holiday backup issues, but
at least you're getting it in there after the holiday, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that made that mistake, you know, like you don't realize. So
yeah. I got a handful of boxes going out this week, and then I have some stuff that's hitching a ride with Jake stuff to go to Brendan Meyer.
Cool.
Brendan sending me some corn snakes. Still have to send the money for that. Just
nice.
A lot of moving parts going on. Chris is getting some stuff. Chris is sending me some stuff. Like things are going everywhere. So
nice. It's the way to do it, man. 'Tis the season.
Yes. But other than that, everything from Daytona is still doing really well. Like everything's no signs of any issues so far. No signs of mites. Everything's eaten at least twice, probably
Excellent.
3 times. So
excellent.
Everything's rocking and rolling there.
Cool,
I was also saying before you hopped on that I'm very seriously considering swapping out that Cambro rack that I have, that like 7-foot monstrosity, swapping that out with like 2 stacks of 4 XT3s.
Okay.
I was talking to Jen about that, and then getting rid of the damn rack that I keep having issues with. That's not a BlackBox rack, and that's why I'm having issues with it. It's because it's not a BlackBox rack. So probably going to be making my way up to the Atlanta area at some point here in the next couple weeks.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but other than that, it's pretty much business as usual. What are you smoking on tonight?
I won't lie, my allergies has been kind of killing me. So I got this little Oliva. I don't even know what the hell it is, but I got 2 of them. So we'll give them a try tonight.
G?
I don't.
Oh, that's the special G. Yeah, a little tiny guy.
Yep. You're right. G.
Yep. Little Cameroon.
Yeah.
Banger.
So we'll give a couple of these a try tonight. See how my sinuses work.
Placencia Reserva Original.
Oh, nice.
Which is like I've talked about them before. This is like a $10 Toro, and all the other Placencia stuff outside of this line is fairly expensive, but this is like one of their best, and it's the cheapest. I don't know. It's just very, very, very tasty. Very sort of rustic flavor-wise. I kind of like it. It's like a classy lower end placenta, because it's Placencia. I mean,
yeah.
Y'all ever mess with Kentucky Fire Cured by Drew Estate?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. I went through a phase with those where I was really into them, and then over time, I don't know if it's Ardbeg or whatever that ruined it for me, but I don't know. I like them every now and then as a change up, but there was a point in time where I was smoking a lot of them.
Yeah, Smitty gave me his last of them. He's like, dude, I'm sick. I can't do these things anymore. I said, all right, I'll take them. And I smoked them, and they're great. And I think it's kind of like people who drink PD Scotch or they drink PDT.
Yep.
You do it for a little while, and then you give yourself a break, you know, whether it be a couple months or a year or whatever, and then you go back to it. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But the agenda this evening, so for a while now, since I did the herp contingency plan after Justin Wilbanks passed, which is on the website, I was like, man, I should totally get together like a checklist that people can print out. So it's hurricane season. Phil knows all about hurricanes. I know all about hurricanes. We deal with them every year in some form or fashion, whether they actually hit us or they swing by us, whatever. It's stressful. So we were sort of talking today about what we wanted to talk about, and we're saving one topic in particular for when Chris gets his shit together, his schedule comes on. But I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to put together a list, like a checklist of stuff to grab for evacuations, whatever, just emergency preparedness in general with your animals and your collection. So we figured we'd just go ahead and make the list tonight, because then we have the input of all of you that are here with us.
Absolutely.
Hurricanes, we know what to do. Snowstorms, I don't know about you, Phil, but I'm sure there's things that I would not remember. Like, there were things I would not think of. Same with wildfires, same with tornadoes. Tornadoes, I don't know if you'd even really have time to get all your stuff together, but hurricanes, you at least have a week. So they're usually it's like being stalked by a snail.
Yeah,
we know they're coming.
I feel like blizzards, I feel like with blizzards and like big winter storms, and obviously I don't live in a northern state, so I'm no one to talk, but from the few years that I did live up north, I feel like you almost need two kits. You need your kit of like, okay, we're getting a big snowfall, we're getting several inches, if not several, feet, whatever. This is going to be my kit that is going to get used at least once, if not twice every year. And then you have your, oh my God, winter has come, Game of Thrones, I need a real kit.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know. I like my whole sort of goal of having it available for people, and I'll have sort of a general list and then something more aimed at like hurricanes, wildfires, snowstorms, that kind of thing, sort of broken down, I guess, by region.
Yeah.
Is just so people can print it out and have it, so that in the event that you do have to up and leave, you don't have to remember everything. You can just grab that list, go through and check it, say, cool, I got everything that I need. You can add your own stuff to it, whatever. But basically just sort of just like what the contingency plan is take any of the guessing work and stuff out of it, not have to really think about it so much. Because I know when it comes to like evac, which honestly I haven't evacuated for a hurricane since I moved here full time. I don't think I've ever evac for a hurricane, actually, now that I think about it. But it's stressful, especially when you have family, you got other pets, you got all your important stuff, your personal documents, social security cards, safes, like the general stuff that you keep locked up in something. There's a lot of stuff to remember. There's a lot of things to think about. So to have a list where you can just break all this stuff down, I think would help a lot of people. And if it does, great. If no one ends up using it, whatever, it's there. It's not like it's super labor intensive to create it. So
and a lot of the stuff could just be used for simple blackout. You get a normal summer storm per se, and a transformer blows, and you're out for a day or two before whoever your local power company gets to fix it, or longer sometimes. A lot of people think about the actual disaster at hand. They don't think about the aftermath. And, I've had friends down in South Florida where it wasn't even that bad of a storm. It was like a Cat 1, Cat 2, where, let's be real, people, we just kind of drink beer and hang out anyway. But they didn't have power for 3-4 months, and everyone thinks, oh, it's Florida, we got to figure out how to keep the animals cool. It's not. It's the opposite. Once that low pressure comes through, it sucks out all the heat. And it was like in the 60s after one storm. So just things like that.
It's odd. I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure you have, but during an actual hurricane, if you go outside, like
in the eye,
incredibly comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Like minus the wind and like chaos, temperature wise, it's actually really nice. Like it's pretty much what I wish it would be all year. So
yeah.
I don't know, but let's see here. I think we will just start with general supplies. Let me pull it up here so we can.
Here we go.
Yeah, I've heard that, and said it feels nice before a tornado as well. That doesn't surprise me. So I'm just making this a checklist on Google Docs, and then I'll export it as a PDF whenever it's done, and then I'll upload it to the website as a downloadable file.
Sounds good.
So just general supplies. So the first thing I think of is like when I envision preparing for something like this, it's usually like a 110 quart tub or something that I can reasonably fit in the back of the car with all the other stuff. So you do have to kind of consider you're going to have bags. You're going to have like just for your stuff while you're away.
Well, let's hold on. I like where you're going with this, but I feel like we're just making the general supplies list. Are we going to put everything in there, like everything that we can as a general supplies list, or are we going to make specific stuff, for example, like evacuation specific?
I don't know.
All right, well, let's do this.
So this was like general stuff, but like I look at it from the standpoint of, okay, I have an empty tub that I know is going to be my emergency prep. Like I'm just going to like a bug out kind of kit sort of deal where I know everything's in it. I can pack it, throw it in the car, and I know everything's in there.
Okay. Because like I think personally, like for me, a lot of the stuff I try and bag it, especially if I don't have to worry about them biting each other through the bags. Because lizards too, you bag lizards, whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm not even talking about the animals
less
yet.
Space. Okay. Sorry. I'm jumping the gun. The gun.
So I'm talking like how much water are you taking, extra deli cups, extra paper towels, puppy pads, whatever you might need for bedding. Like,
all right,
you know what I mean?
Let's start jotting that stuff down. Right.
All right. So
you're saying great stuff. I love
deli cups, or I guess containers in general. Would we say general? Just containers.
Containers.
Because delis can be expensive. Containers. Let's see. Paper towels. You'll need those regardless of whether you're keeping the animals on them or not. Let's see. Water, because that would be something I just buy by the gallon and keep in my tub.
Yeah.
Bags,
I'm going to like particular things too. Like, for example, a lot of people will fill up their bathtub because even though it may not taste the best, it's still potable and it's clean and you could use it for whatever. So
so I'll go up here. I'll add travel.
Yeah.
And then we'll add bathtub tape down the list.
Well, we could do that for like, you're staying, you're just out of power kind of thing. Definitely have tape of some kind, preferably something you could write on like painter's tape. Although some of the painter's tape I find is a little weak and it'll fall off itself. So I would say something like masking or electrical tape that's colored. Yep. Sharpies.
That's something I got to have.
Oh yeah. Zip ties. Zip ties, cable ties. And yes, happy Labor Day, everybody.
Scissors. Is that something you'd have?
Yeah.
Or some sort of blade?
Yeah, absolutely. I would put scissors. Yeah, scissors are good. Or actually, what I have in my kit is actually a set of tin snips. Because scissors, depending on the material you're trying to cut, the hinge point may be too weak and the blades will actually separate and you won't be able to cut through what you're trying to cut through. But tin snips, obviously they're designed to cut through metal. So they'll cut through a bag, they'll cut through a plastic, they'll cut through zip tie, whatever.
Right. Trash bags.
Yeah, we can go trash bags.
Probably not a bad thing to have around.
Yeah. I will definitely say temp gun because you definitely want to check the inside of your tub, the outside of your tub, and it's battery powered. You can put it in your pocket. If you're in a cold state, the warmth of your body is going to, prevent the electronics from getting messed up. You could check stuff, and there Smitty's ahead of me with the heat pads and cool pads too, if need be, if you're in the desert or you're out west or something.
Yeah, I mean, we take heat mats with us to Daytona every year because those hotel rooms are usually cool as hell, and so we'll put one of the like ultra therm pads.
Yep.
In the drawer, and then it keeps the animal sort of nice and toasty.
Yeah. If only the hotels knew.
Cool pads, heat packs.
And you know what I'm gonna if you can go back up to bags, pillowcases, I'll put I would like to say bring spares, because there's been plenty of times when I've had an animal in the bag and the first couple hours they soil it, right? Yep. So I would just take the animal out, swap bags, and then I can wash that bag later or throw it away or whatever.
Heat packs.
It's good to have at least 2 or 3 extra bags to just in case.
Cryo packs. Because that's the weird thing. I don't know about for you, but in South Carolina here, hurricane season, it's fall, but it's still warm.
Yeah.
So it's not quite cold, but it's definitely not summer heat still. So heat packs, cold packs, that's going to depend on what you're dealing with. Painter's tape. Let's see. The black binder clips that they sell at Staples. That's not a bad one to add. And I can't see the chat, so you need to shout them out to me if you see them.
Yeah, I'll keep my eye peeled.
I'm put binder clips. Because those might even be handy to have just to have them. Maybe you have a container and the lid doesn't stick as well. Like those Dollar Tree tubs are pretty hit or miss sometimes with how well the lids fit. So we'll add one of those in there.
I'll also say that if you're doing venomous stuff or big constrictors, you may even want to just get an actual lock, like a padlock or a luggage suitcase lock, something that can, is definitely not going to be tampered with, by family members or by strangers, or even just, driving in the car and stuff bounces around and pops open, So.
Or even just to keep your larger container shut.
Yeah. Yep. And Desert Creature says, speaking of venomous, snake hooks, snake hooks and tongs, definitely. I wouldn't go crazy because remember, we're trying to keep it concise, but if you have something that needs protective equipment, then I would highly recommend you don't forget it. I can't see people forgetting it, but you know what? It's good to put on the list anyway. So
remember, this is meant to be a grab and check it off and go.
Exactly.
Surge protector.
Yeah. Yep.
Make that plural as well. Extension cord.
And I also think it's good to just mention, obviously we don't have to put on the list, but a lot of people who don't travel with animals a lot or don't deal with natural disasters or semi-natural disasters on a pretty frequent basis, the beauty of our animals that we keep is that they are very resilient. And with the exception of some key species, they're perfectly fine living in a bag or a deli cup for a few days, if not a week, as long as conditions are okay and they're not overly hot, overly cold, or they don't get dehydrated because of that. Most of our animals can survive. And I feel like a lot of people, they tend to stress when they're moving and they have to stay in a hotel. Well, now I have to bring a whole setup for my one leopard gecko. No, the animals are going to be fine. We ship animals all the time, and granted, shipping them in a box is a 24-hour or 18-hour thing, but they are going to be okay for longer than that, providing they're healthy and providing the temperatures are correct and providing that they were hydrated and fed adequately before all this happens. So just peace of mind for everybody.
Though I will say that's having either like small, like condiment cups or something for water if you're having stuff in tubs.
Sure.
I don't know. What's the official name for those?
Ramekin.
No, I mean like disposable, like plastic ones.
Oh,
That you get in like the sleeve.
What would you call those? Like shot glass cups? I mean, no, not shot glass cups.
Things they put Jello shots in.
Yeah. I don't like 1 ounce deli cups.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, Billy Jenkins says you better have a bin to put all this stuff in. It's very true.
Yeah, 1 ounce delis. 1 OZ deli cups. Spare feeders. What do you think about that?
Depends on where you're going, what you're doing. Crickets die real quick, worms die real quick. Rats, if you're bringing your rat colony with you or your mouse colony because you breed your own feeders, that's completely different. I would not worry about bringing frozen food items.
I'm thinking more like mealworms, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you could if you really needed to, but I feel like the animals that are eating that for the week or so or less that they're going to be messed up. I don't think it necessarily is merited, but to teach their own. Everyone takes care of themselves differently, you know.
We'll put that at the list somewhere farther down.
Sure. I will say this too, is that if you know a blizzard's coming or you know a hurricane's coming, it may be best to not feed your snakes that week, you know, especially if you're going to be picking them up and transporting them. And, you know, if the hurricane's landing on Friday, don't feed them on Wednesday or Thursday, you know, just food for thought.
Flashlight.
Oh, yeah, definitely a flashlight.
Anna Maria said latex gloves.
Yeah, they couldn't hurt. Could not hurt.
Especially if you're Chris Paincheb.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Syringes.
I mean, if you really need to, I would, but I'm not going to bring them. I feel like, especially with everything else that could go wrong or might go wrong, it's probably best to not bring them.
We got binder clips on there.
I will say this: paperwork and licenses, if need be.
Oh, good call.
Any kind of paperwork that you think is necessary for your travel, whether it be state licenses or pedigree paperwork, whatever you feel that is, you know, necessary, definitely bring that along.
Hemostats.
Yeah, we can do that.
That would probably be handy. That's something I'd rather have and not need than need and not have.
Exactly.
I'm literally looking at my pile of stuff over here, thinking if there's anything I'm missing.
We've covered everything that I got in my kit, so that's pretty much it for me, at least.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of some of the venomous stuff that I have that, I mean, other than like bite protocols and stuff, which that could be covered under paper. I really don't have anything that I could think of that would be extra for this particular type of list, you know?
All right. So then people out west, what are we missing when you're dealing with the dryness?
Maybe a little spray bottle if need be. I don't know.
Yeah. Billy Jenkins is going to be like Magnum condoms.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you read down the list one more time?
So far we have containers, paper towels, water, bags/pillowcases plus spares, tape, Sharpies, zip ties, scissors, trash bags, temp gun, hot heat/cooling pads, heat packs, cryo packs, binder clips, lock in relation to venomous/large constrictors, hook or hooks, surge protector, extension cords, 1 ounce deli cups, flashlight, disposable gloves, paperwork/licenses, hemostats, and spray bottles. But something like paperwork, I feel like should be at the top. Like that should be like the first thing, aside from the animals, obviously.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh, I guess it didn't copy it. Damn it. Cooperate.
Harry says anything special for animals that are prone or sensitive to stress. I think that's a great idea. I have actually got black pillowcases and like old black t-shirts that I use to cover stuff up. If let's say I do have certain animals in deli cups and I don't want them to see what's going on, it's really easy to throw an old black t-shirt over it, so that I don't know if that's where he was going with it, but that's an idea that I've used before.
Hydrometers. Spag. That's not a bad.
Yeah. Can't hurt to have spag if you need it. I would definitely say going back to water, if you have an animal that needs particular water, i.e. amphibians or aquatic species, definitely have some water treatment stuff if you don't have the correct bottled or containered water. So maybe put like some dechlorinizer. Is that the right word? Dechlorinizer? Yeah.
Chlorinator.
Dechlorinator. Yeah. Water conditioner, if anything.
Good one. We did put spray bottle on there, right? Yeah.
Yep. We did.
About like disinfectant.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're like living out of a hotel room or a friend's house or something, and you want to spray down or wipe out some deli cups, I would definitely say get some, at least 2 already measured out, what's the word I'm looking for? Mixed F10, or
you can get those Santa wipes.
Yeah, that could work too.
Sandy cloth.
Sandy cloth. Or a chlorhexidine. I'm a chlorhexidine guy. That's what I use.
Zep. I'm Team Zep, man. Love that stuff. Yeah, paper towels. Puppy pads.
Yeah, if that's what you're using. But again, you're not setting stuff up per se. You know what I mean? So if you want to put a puppy pad at the bottom of a big tub with a big constrictor, maybe to help soak some stuff up. But
we'll add it to the list just in case.
Yeah,
some people may need them. So what we can, I guess at some point, like I guess when we're done, I can separate this into stuff that most people are going to need, and then maybe some other stuff that might be as not as essential, but
yeah, absolutely.
What was I just thinking of? I know if I walked into my room right now, within like 2 seconds, I'd see like 10 things I could add to the list.
Oh yeah, of course. That's how it always works. And we can always add to this list later on.
We can, yeah. I don't know, spare bedding, because I mean that kind of falls in the same category as puppy pads.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in current herpetoculture, aside from aquatic stuff, that you couldn't use paper towels or swag for.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those things are multi-use and lightweight. So
THN shirt plus hat.
So
Cigars.
Harry asks, do the disinfectants store okay after being mixed? I guess if you knew a storm was coming, you could whip up a gallon right then. I think that a lot of those disinfectants last way longer than people say they do. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I use chlorhexidine, and I have a gallon jug that's probably, I don't even know. It's probably 2 or 3 years old, and it still has the color. It hasn't lost its viscosity. Now, granted, I don't have a microscope. I'm not really seeing if it's quote unquote working, but it definitely kills mold real quick and wipes stuff out real well. So, and F10, you mix that in its own container as you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The Zep, I like that because you don't mix it at all. I just pour it straight. I think some people dilute it. I just pour it straight in my spray bottle, and that stuff, I don't worry about it at all. So
Sure.
really, the only thing that you would need to worry about being more sensitive, and I mean, if you're using it, you probably already know this, but ivermectin is very light sensitive. Peroxide, hydrogen peroxide, that's light sensitive. That's why it's in a dark bottle. Would peroxide be a good one to add?
I feel like if you've got Sandy wipes or chlorhexidine, I think that's good enough. I feel like hydrogen peroxide is so, what's the word I'm looking for? It loses its gusto so quick, whether it be, evaporation or, converting to water, so to speak, whatever you want to call that. I don't know. I feel like that's maybe too much. I wouldn't want to know. But I think this is a really good list. I think it's really good.
See, I'm just trying to think of stuff more, us being more snake guys than anything else. I try to think of when I was dealing with cresteds, like I'd have a bag of Pangea or something in my diets. I'll add that in there.
Yeah, but if you put Cresties in a deli cup for 4 days or whatever, and they don't have food for 4 days or a week, would that really mess them up? I mean, I'm asking.
I mean, they'd probably be okay, but because a bag of Pangea isn't going to take up any more space than
good point.
A handful of napkins or something.
Yeah.
And if you have tortoises and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Etc. 2 pages. Like with the Ackies, I don't know what I'd do with the Ackies if I had to take those. Keeping them heated would be they'd be chilly for a few days.
Yeah, I think you putting a heat pack in there with them wouldn't hurt, and they could, if they want to sit on it, they could, but it's not going to affect them that much.
Because some of these, like I want to add times. Come on. Do what I say, machine. This wireless keyboard struggles sometimes. Times and then ... And then people can write in whatever they want to write in.
Yeah.
Times ... May spread these out a little more too.
I'll be right back.
Okay. That way you can write this down, how many you need, and then you can just count them up and make sure they're in there. Keep them at room temperature, no problem. There we go. There's Alan. Travel humidor full of Fuente Hemingways. Portion cups. Alan, what do you guys do when you're dealing with like wildfire kind of stuff? Like, what do you do to, if you have to evacuate, what are you grabbing that maybe we don't think about here on the East Coast because we don't worry about our state going up in flames? Boop, boop, boop. I feel like I'm forgetting something major. It's driving me crazy. Contact list of friends, a backup cell battery. That's not a bad idea. Come on, keyboard. Maybe the batteries are dying. Ice contacts. This. Car keys, yeah. This whole thing's struggling now. What the hell? There we go.
Change your batteries?
No, I don't. I haven't changed them since I got this thing, so it's probably due. But so I have one of those jumper pack things. It's like the size of a brick,
right?
And that has the ability to charge things and power things. And that thing's been a friggin' lifesaver on more than one occasion.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the backup cell battery thing / power option is something that you would have in just your general, like, get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we should really keep this list to herp specific. I think we got most of it, man. I mean, I'm sure we're going to add some stuff later on, but that's like, that is the general supplies list, you know?
Yeah. This thing is killing me. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know for you, but for me, I just envision having a tub like that has almost all that stuff that I know I need in it. That's just ready to just grab and go. Like, just have it filled up, packed up. So you literally just have to grab that. Maybe have your checklist there on top of it, and you know everything's already in there. But anything else, yep. And then as far as the animals go, see, it's easy with the small stuff, all the baby corns and whatnot, and all the small rat snakes. But then it's like the adult chondros and whatnot. That's a little trickier. You could bag them up, and then I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily have like a separate tub with those in it inside of said larger tub, but I don't know.
Well, like what I've done before is I've had a small backpack, like a lot, like the little backpacks that a lot of girls use as purses nowadays, and that backpack would be all the supplies per se. You know, a roll of paper towels, some extra snake bags, all the dry stuff that we talked about, all the tools and equipment and all that in there. And then my actual big tubs, that's got the actual animals per se. Maybe store the heat packs in there too for, you know, environmental control or whatever. And then with me, I've got some venomous stuff that is too big to add to that communal tub, like big gaboons, big puffs, stuff like that.
Right.
So I actually have extra hot boxes, which mine are old. Mine are wooden crates that have a hinge door on the top. They say danger venomous reptile on them. They have an actual padlock, you know, metal locking mechanism that I could put a padlock through. They have, you know, double screen, 1/4-inch ventilation so that, you know, fangs can't get through the screen. And what I've done is I've bagged the individual snake in a pillowcase and then put that one snake in that one hot box. So yes, I will have multiple boxes, but at least now it's one animal per container. It's wooden or plastic. A lot of people will actually go to Home Depot and they'll buy the it's basically a crappy little black plastic toolbox with little yellow or orange locks on it. And they'll just drill air holes in that and use that as a venomous hot box. You could do that too. And I also done stacking containers within containers. So for example, let's say I've got some big boids, right? And I bag the boids and they go on the bottom of the tub because they're really not going to care if I put another tray full of delis or a tray full of snake bags on top of them.
Yeah.
The only thing is, though, you got to make sure it's a good fit, because I've also had it where that boa decided to stretch and flip that tray over, and now there's just deli cups thrown in there loose.
Yeah.
So you got to definitely be mindful of that. But I think having extra containers in that regard and doing containers within containers can be very helpful in certain situations. And never underestimate how big an animal is, even if it is stuffed in a bag.
What do you think about having like a bucket, like a separate bucket? So I have mine right here that has the screw on. It's a 5-gallon bucket with a screw on lid.
No, yeah, I have
or a second, like another tub in the event that you have to take something out, like if it's in a bag and it soils that bag and you have to transfer it out.
That's a given.
Is that something you would have?
Absolutely.
Venomous stuff or what?
Yeah. So I don't carry around those wooden crates anymore just because they're so big and clunky. I have a 7-gallon bucket. They sell them. Some hardware stores like Ace and True Value, they'll have them. Home Depot no longer carries them because they exclusively carry their orange 5-gallon that they make. But you can buy them on Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon. It's a 7-gallon bucket. And the beauty of it is it's just that much taller. So if I'm bagging a snake using that bucket and I'm using alligator clips, or I just fold the bag over, exactly, you got it. And see that sticker there? I also have that on Amazon. And that I have the same stickers on my white 7-gallon bucket with the screw-on lid, and I drilled air holes. And I was a little neurotic. And see how Smitty has the air holes there? Because of venomous, I don't have those air holes because I don't want people, God forbid, something gets loose in that bucket. I don't want people to be grabbing the bucket and getting bit. So what I've done is there's actually 2 air holes in the top that I
tried to get them as close to under the lip as possible.
Okay, yeah, very
so they weren't as exposed. Like I did it, when I drilled them, I did it at an angle, or tried to. Some of them were better than others, but
so what I've done is on the lid, I've actually drilled 2 bigger air holes that are realistically probably about the diameter of a neonate corn snake. And the reason why I initially did it was because I can run a zip tie through that, and then now I can unscrew the lid by hand and then use a snake hook to lift up the zip tie to take the lid off. So I don't actually have to put my hands on it. And then at the same time, on top of that, I drilled, like Smitty did, at an angle where I actually can put zip ties through the lid to lock the lid shut so it can't be unscrewed or pried off. And
then you can get these stickers. I think I got this off eBay or Amazon. It's like an 11 by 11 or something. It's massive. And you can get that off the internet.
Yeah, I literally have the exact same bucket. So that's the bucket that lives in my car.
Do you have it in both English and Spanish?
No, just English. And inside that bucket is multiple snake bags and Fiji water bottles, just in case.
Of course.
So, yeah. And I mean, and dude, when we were in West Texas, we had our bucket that we brought with us, and the one I bought at Home Depot, and used my pocket knife to make air holes because we didn't have a drill in the bush. And how many times on that trip did we dump out the contents to throw a rattlesnake in there just to take a photo, just to contain it? So I imagine if you have a snake or a lizard that's a little unwieldy and is not cooperative and has soiled its container, you could throw it in the bucket. It's tall enough that in theory it won't shoot out too quick, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's the bucket I used whenever I'd clean venomous when I was keeping my Atrox. And
yeah. They're great, man. Those 7 gallons are where it's at.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had one of those because the 5 gallons nice and all, but that Atrox got to a point where it could come right back out of that bucket after a while, and I was like, okay, it's a little more stressful now. But when it was small, it was easy because I didn't have to worry about it, peekabooing back out. And
and so many people, they take for granted what they have when they clean the animal's enclosure at home, whether it be a venomous trash can, the big Rubbermaid ones, or it's another enclosure or another drawer in the rack where you keep it empty just to put the animal for cleaning, or you take the animal out and you hold the animal while you clean. Well, if you're in a snowstorm or you're out with, torrential downpour rain, or it's after a hurricane or whatever, earthquake, God forbid, you may not be able to hold that animal. So you need to have the other containers to put them in, i.e. the bucket or extra bags or whatever, to fix what you got to fix.
Yeah. And ideally, so with the having the bin with all the supplies in it that's ready to go, ideally I'd have basically 2 of those, one that just has animals in it, and then the one that has the supplies in it. Obviously, whatever car you're using is going to dictate how much space you have for these kind of things, so you may have to sort of pick and choose. But because, like I said, you're also taking into consideration not only the stuff you have in the animals, like in the stuff for them, but clothes and whatnot, toiletries, whatever for the week. Because usually, anytime when I do evac, which I haven't, but I'm saying when I will or whenever I have to, I'm pretty much just going to plan to be gone for a week, because so many times we've seen it here. People evacuate and then they try to come back too early and they're not letting anybody back into the county yet.
Yeah. Yep.
So then people are all upset, and it's like, just plan to in traffic alone on the way back when you have an entire half of a state, at least here in South Carolina, that is all migrating in the same direction, more or less. Which means all those people are going to be migrating back the same direction. So traffic gets stupid. So I usually just plan to be gone for an extra day or two past whenever, they clear everybody to come back, because it's like traffic's going to be so horrendous that you might as well just take a vacation, like take time off while you're, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if I end up packing up and going to Tennessee or something, like I'm just going to hang out. I'm not going to go to Tennessee and sit there for 2 days and be like, okay, we got to go back. Like I'm just going to go ahead and hang out there for a week.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be any rush to get home. If your stuff's jacked up, it's going to be jacked up whether you're there or not. Like at the end of the day, it is just stuff, and it is stressful. But we've been really fortunate. I mean, I know Florida has had a much more severe history with hurricanes, but where I am in the sort of the armpit of the Southeast, where that curve of Georgia and Florida go up and stuff, we're kind of tucked in there, and knock on wood, we usually don't get hit too bad by a lot of them. Matthew was the last really bad one we had, and I think I didn't evacuate for that one either. The girls did, I didn't, and we were without power for, I want to say almost a week.
Yeah.
So it was, bring books too, just as a general thing.
Yeah, books and candles.
If you don't leave, you're not gonna have power. That's when that little charger brick thing that I had came in handy, because I could plug my phone into it, and it would slowly charge it, but it just basically kept it alive more than anything else. So that, and then having books, because if you don't have power, you ain't got nothing else to do. It gets pretty boring pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And if you got a herp library, that's a good time to catch up on it. So
very much so. Very much so.
What about you? Have you had any serious? Have you evac'd for a hurricane ever, Florida man?
No, I have not yet. I have not yet evac'd for a hurricane. Luckily, I am not in a flood zone. I am surrounded by canals, and I'm actually really lucky is that my neighborhood, all the power grid is underground. So
you're not in a flood zone because of those canals.
Correct. Yeah, very correct. Very correct. And the few times that I have lost power, it's only been for a couple days, which is no big deal for the animals, the species that I keep. I will say this though, having venomous, I have strict protocols to what I have to do prior to a hurricane. Everything has to be removed from its enclosures and containered, labeled. Those containers have to be locking, and then they have to be placed in an inner room of the home that's away from any windows. So i.e. a laundry room or a bathroom. They have to be elevated off the ground. And it sucks when you don't exactly know when it's coming. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. The hurricane's coming, but it's going to come Friday night. Is it coming Friday morning?
Because it changes so much too. Like, you get a good heads up with hurricanes, but just like with the weather, any other day of the week or time of the year, they'll say 100 thunderstorms going to be here by noon, and then noon shows up. They're like, oh, it's shifted to 3:00 or tonight or tomorrow morning. Like that same thing happens with hurricanes all the time. They're like, yeah, it's going to hit Tuesday. Like Monday night rolls around and they're like, oh, it's actually going to be here Wednesday morning.
Right.
And it, it'll continue to shift until it is actually like there. But what kind of containers are you having to put them in that's lockable? Like, what do you?
Those wooden crates I told you about.
You just bag everything up and put them in that?
Yep. So so everything, if it's deli cuppable, I'll deli cup it, and then those deli cup stuff goes into a gasket tub that I have padlocks on. And then everything that's bagged will get put into those wooden crates with padlocks, and then they get put in the inner room. And I never tell people with venomous to rush. Never, ever rush. But if you know that you have a cobra that is a pain in the ass to bag, don't allot yourself 10 minutes. If you know that flat out, if you had to bag everything in your room and it was going to take you 2 hours, give yourself 3. What's the extra hour that the snake's in the bag? You know what I mean? And if you finish early, that's fine. You have more time to do other things. So I always tell people, don't rush, but have an idea of how long it takes you to do certain things so that you can map out and do time management appropriately, especially if you have something coming that's going to be nasty, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I basically figure that I can do my entire room in around 2 hours if I really had to. And that's me taking my time and labeling everything and double bagging stuff. Because like deli cups and stuff, I don't really worry about too much. But like snake bags, I'm double bagging them because I don't want to trust it. You know, and I don't, if I'm going like to your house, I'm going to tie the bag, whether it's venomous or not. Right. But like, if it's for this, it gets zip tied. I do 2 zip ties. So, and then everything's marked danger venomous reptile, the value of how many animals are in the bag, because sometimes 2 or 3 animals go in one bag. And at the same time, the scientific name and the common name, all in Sharpie. And I do danger venomous reptiles on the body of the bag below where the tie would be. And then the actual names and stuff, that gets at the very tippity top of the bag with where it's coming out the top. So that way, if I want to pick it up or someone wants to pick it up, they can pick it up by the safe part of the bag and not have to touch the actual bag itself and risk being bitten through the fabric.
Now, would you rather that, or would you rather do something where you get like a more or less like a luggage tag with like a Velcro strap or something to add around it, or zip tied into the bag with it?
No, because that stuff can get ripped off.
Okay.
I want Sharpie marker on the actual fabric. That way it's not gonna fall off. I'm not gonna lose it. If it gets wet, it's not gonna smear. You know what I mean? Because it's like a white or tan snake bag with black Sharpie. Nothing's happening to that. I do have all my Cloud Forest designed labels that have the anti-venom stuff. Those will get ripped off and thrown in there with them. You know, not in the bag, but in the container with them.
Yeah.
As an extra precautionary measure. And then my bite protocol, that's all in one binder. So that whole binder, that'll get thrown in the big tub or with the equipment, and that goes into the room or into the vehicle or what have you.
Gotcha.
So
yeah. And I mean, the whole moving them into a windowless part of the house or, you know, what have you, basically that's FWC wanting to make sure that if there is serious damage to
straight coconuts make bad stuff, bro.
Yeah.
So, and I'm lucky that, you know, all of our buildings around here, they're all concrete block, you know, so I don't worry too much in that regard. But you have to be prepared. You have to have some kind of protocol and contingency plans and emergency contact stuff, you know?
Yeah, and it's there's really only been a handful of hurricanes in history that have been strong enough to like level buildings. My biggest concern is almost always trees falling on the house. Like that's my number one fear when it comes to the house. Like flooding shouldn't happen. Will it? Can it? Sure. But we have so many trees and stuff around here, especially giant pines and whatnot. And if that ground starts getting super saturated, a lot of them start falling over. So,
oh yeah.
Fortunately, we had a massive one in our backyard. We got that taken out at the beginning of the year, maybe the end of last year. And that was always like hurricane season last year. And the year before that, I was like, man, if like that was the one tree I was worried about, because I was like, if that thing falls in our direction, it's going like straight down the middle of the house. The length of it, like that thing was huge. That's always my biggest concern is trees falling on the house.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I wish we had someone. What's that?
So everything else is not nearly as much of a concern. But
yeah, I wish we had someone in the group chat that could comment on Blizzard stuff. You know, I know Fadi just had his episode on Daffy's Roundtable of the blackout stuff in Canada.
Yeah,
and I know that was a big deal for what was it, almost all of Ontario and Quebec.
I have no idea. I'm out of the loop on that.
Yeah, major storm that was not supposed to be as crazy as it was, and then it turned into like storm of the century type storm. And they had major power grids out all across Eastern Canada. And I don't know if Prince Edward Island and like Nova Scotia got hit because they're like their own entities,
Right.
But I know most of Ontario and I think all of Quebec got it pretty damn good. So
yeah, and that would be a concern for me, is being able to heat everything, because if you don't have power, temperature starts dropping pretty quick, and it may only be a couple degrees warmer inside than it is outside if it's a prolonged period of time. So
yeah,
I did have Christian Parr did an article about in the magazine, one of the last issues, about like emergency preparedness and basically getting a generator and sort of things to prepare if you end up being in that situation. I mean, you can only have so many heat packs and stuff, I guess. And given how many people have had issues with heat packs in recent years, with some of them just being duds or whatever, that's a lot of heat packs to have on hand just to make sure you have them and that they're operational.
Oh yeah.
Robert said it's about the same up there. So he lives in the Great White North, which is anywhere above Virginia, in my opinion.
North of the Mason-Dixon.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that the most prepared you can be is to think outside the box. And like Smitty said earlier, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah, Robert said, when I first moved to PA, we had the ice storm of the century, lost most of my collection, definitely need a generator. Which generators are just, I mean, down here during hurricane season, it's pretty nice to have a generator where you can still run your fridge and sort of the basics.
Yeah.
My parents invested in one of like the permanent ones, I guess. So like if the power goes out, they don't even notice it. Like the generator catches it long before they even see it. And so it's like completely seamless. It's wild.
Crazy.
Inverter for the car to plug in heat for extended periods, staying in the car.
That's actually a really good one.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. You want to add that one?
Sure. Only thing in Vancouver to worry about is fall/spring windstorms, fires in the summer for the rest of British Columbia.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that, just the whole HERP contingency thing that we put together a while back. Last night, I don't know, just thinking about like how quickly everything can sort of disappear. And the thought of being in Katie's position if something were to happen to me, where it's like all of a sudden, I mean, it would be a little easier for her because she knows everybody, in our circle. And I trust that you guys would take that and run with it.
Yeah.
But to be in the position like where somebody else, where you're not involved in the hobby and you don't really know the people that maybe your person knows or talks to you regularly, and already dealing with the chaos of having to deal with funeral stuff and everything else, like not knowing what to do with these animals, what they're worth, like who they should go to, who you can trust, like just it's another whole extra layer of chaos to add into an already chaotic situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I know my late mentor, he passed away, and his wife was a herper, and she knew how to take care of everything, and she knew venomous stuff, and she was Marianne. She's awesome. And she's living retired in Tampa now, but there was a good few days where she was like, okay, this person, come in. I want you to take this. I want you to take that. Oh, you want this? Take it. You want that? Take it. And hey, Phil, you're going down to South Florida. Take this venomous and consign it. And that's what I wound up doing. So I took a bunch of her venomous down to underground, and we put some of that stuff up for sale. And I kept a few things for myself. And she was really lucky that not only did she know how to take care of everything that she did want to keep, but she did have a good handful of us to help her. Not, I don't want to say get rid of, but move the animals that were not going to be kept, if that makes sense. And also, when we were doing the venomous classes pretty heavy, at least once every year or two, I would do a what I call the spouse class. And basically, we would get together at somebody's house, and we would have a beer and hang out, and everyone brings their roommate, brings their girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, whoever it was that is not a venomous person. And we would go over all the what ifs, because if something happens, whether it's a bite or it's, God forbid, an escape, or just something happens in general. I mean, it could be a car crash, who knows, anything, right? God forbid. That significant other, that other person, that spouse, whatever, knows what to do next. And we would mostly cover bite stuff. So if the animal is not contained, what do? Are you trained to contain it? Is the room escape proof? If it is, are you locking the door and calling someone like myself to come catch it while you go to the hospital or whatever? And at the same time, what if you walk in and that person's out cold on the floor? What do you do?
Yeah.
And that's why I really think it's a great thing with the Cloud Forest Design anti-venom labels that I made, because it tells you what the animal is. It gives a picture of the animal, tells you where it's from, and what anti-venoms to use. And a significant other or a roommate or whoever can grab the anti-venom label and go with you to the hospital and call it a day. But it's also good to have an idea of some first aid stuff. So if there is panic ensued, or there is anaphylaxis setting in, or whatever, okay, this is a neurotoxic venom. I need to wrap the appendage in an ACE bandage and go to the hospital, things like that. And this is a crotalid. I need to not wrap it. I need to not contain the venom. I need to elevate the limb and get the hell out of Dodge. Things like that. I think it's very helpful. And obviously not everyone's keeping venomous, but the same thing goes for any of our animals. You know what I mean? Imagine if Katie didn't know that she could, pick up a Jansen eye. Like, yeah, it's probably going to bite her, but she knows nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or a corn or a Baird's or whatever, and those are things that need to be discussed with these people. So
what do you think about having, so as inexpensive as like nanny cams and the Wise cameras have become, just in general, not even necessarily from the perspective of someone who's living with you, if you're keeping venomous or whatever, but just as a keeper yourself, instead of having like a window in a room, or if you don't have a window into the room, have one of those nanny cams, be able to check in on that and scan the room, because those the ways those, they pivot, like you can control it on your phone and it'll do almost 180 degree spin.
Yeah,
like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great. I think it can't hurt. It can't hurt. And I mean, my room, I'm not too concerned for a couple of reasons. For one, I'm the only one that goes in there, and two, the way that the door is and my door sweep, that if there is something on the other side of the door, by the time the door hits it, it's either going to hit it or it's going to scare it and it's going to haul ass the other direction in theory. So like, I don't worry about that stuff too much, but if you have a room with a lot of animals and someone else is going in there, it would be great to be able to see what you're walking into, you know. And Scott has it best. Scott and Ty have a window into the in the door. Like, that's the way to do it, you know. I've even seen it where guys have a window at the top to look in the room, and they have a window at the bottom because depending on how tall the door is or how tall the window is, you can't see if something is up against the door.
Right.
So it can't hurt to have that too. I mean, obviously you have to have a special door for that, but yeah, I think the camera would be great. And you don't have the camera per se facing away from the door. You have it facing at the door. So if there is a rattlesnake or
having it mounted so that you can do a whole sweep of the room before you go in to double check anything.
Right.
I mean, some people may not take the time to actually pull up the app and do that, but it just seems like a cheap $25 solution to a you know, pretty easily solvable problem. But,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, after my biggest thing with the contingency plan was just making sure that people know who to go to in the event that something happens to you and you don't, you know, because frankly, a lot of when these things happen, vultures tend to show up.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I kind of saw it with Will Banks and some of his chondros. There was people that were sort of swarming that, and it's like, Jesus Christ, you know. So having that list of people, like, this is who I want you to talk to about these animals and where I want them to go.
Right.
Whether they keep them or they end up parting with them, whatever. But these are the people you need to talk to. You know, obviously Jake being local, he's at the top of the list.
Right.
But then I think I have Billy on mine. I need to look at mine. I think you're on there. I need to double check. But just like, it's not a legally binding document or anything either, but just the fact of having that there, and then I have it set so that you can list what animals go to who. You know, you can separate it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had the talk with Anna Maria, and basically, if something happens to me, obviously my roommate is here. He knows how to handle venomous, but he's not a keeper. You know, that's not his MO. So I would have basically, God forbid, Anna Maria would contact Marcus and Henry. The two of them would whack up the venomous, do whatever they want to do with it, you know, and then Marcus gets the Dramarcon, and then Billy would come down Billy would probably come down and help Anna Maria bag all the harmless stuff, and that's it. And, you know, just keep it easy and concise. And I don't have anything crazy expensive or rare like designer chondros or anything, so I don't look at it in terms of, you know, people trying to get one over on my widow, you know. But I could see how that could very well be a big thing. Yeah, you know.
It's sad, but it's a reality of the situation.
It is.
It was just, I don't know. Like, I know we've talked about this in the past and stuff, but just like with Will Banks and that whole thing, like, I know his family didn't know anything about green trees or any of the stuff he had, and it's like they didn't have a clue of who you know, what they should do with it. And you have a living thing that is dependent on other people for its survival, and now you have people that don't know how to help it survive. So it's kind of a shitty situation. Like, it's like being dumped with a box full of kittens and you've never had a cat, you know. It's like, well, shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And so having something that's just the same thing as the checklist, just grab and go, you know, look at that, call these people, have them sort it out, you know, instead of having to, you know, you have people blowing up your inbox saying, what are they doing with this? What's happening with this one? What's happening to this one? It's like, meanwhile, you're dealing with the loss of somebody.
Yeah.
It's just, the whole point of that was to help curb all of it. Where it's like, this is the point of contact if this happens. And even if you just have something that says, if something happens to me, call this person. It doesn't even have to be as in-depth as multiple names and numbers and which animal goes to who, and it's
and
like I said.
And that's why I told Anna Marie to do it that way, because obviously her and Billy have a very good rapport, and he's the closest non-venomous friend I got around here.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I trust Marcus and Henry with all my venomous stuff, and they can do what they want to do with it. If they want to sell it, they sell it, whatever. But I trust that they would be able to come and take care of it without Anna Maria have to worrying about anything, or Peter having to worry about anything. You know what I mean? It just makes it easy.
I mean, the venomous thing is just another level of that whole thing.
Right.
That's a completely different scenario almost, where where the people you choose are way more important than with non-venomous stuff, and I'm actually kind of surprised Florida Fish and Wildlife doesn't have any sort of, like, there's no regulation on having some sort of list like that.
Well, there is. I have to have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just a point of contact of, like, this is.
Yeah. So on site in my bite protocol binder, I have my emergency contact list, which is basically on there right now is just Marcus. So he's the official state emergency contact. I have my vet on there. I have my personal emergency contact, which is my father. And then I have like GPS coordinates of the facility and all that jazz. And then I have a map of my facility that has like little pictures, like lamp, bank of cages, window, like a little diagram that I drew out. And that's retained on site. And for whatever reason, if a firefighter has to look at it, or if Marcus has to look at it, or Fish and Wildlife, whatever, it's there. So
I got you. Makes sense. I think that's the also the important factor of labeling cages and stuff and having locks is, like, if you have a fire or something, man, you got first responders that go into that house, and there's a lot going on. Having those cages labeled so they know what they're dealing with inside of those things is, I know it's a must for Florida folks, but anywhere else, like I had my cages labeled regardless. Like, I got labels for them.
Yeah.
Because that was my thinking was, hey, if there's ever like hurricane stuff, house fires, like houses flooded, people are, they're looking for people, whatever, during these hurricanes, or after, because during hurricanes, Beaufort County is like, if you're staying, they will literally tell you, like, once it gets to a certain point to where if you're in trouble, no one is coming to save you. No one's coming to help you. You are 100% on your own. And if you're staying, you're taking that risk yourself.
So in my Tri-County area, it's said everywhere, the radio, the television, everywhere. If you're in my Tri-County area, which I think there's like 8 or 9 million people in my Tri-County area. If the winds go over 40 miles an hour, you're on your own. No fire, no EMS, no police, nothing. That's it. So,
yeah. So if anything happens, they're going to be looking for people and or bodies after the fact.
Right.
And that's one of those scenarios where if I don't have the animals with me, I want the cages at least locked and labeled.
Yeah.
It's worst case scenario, but
yeah,
those scenarios do happen.
I hope no one's listening to this and thinking that, this is obviously it's a morbid topic, but it's something that everyone really needs to focus on, because we're not assuming that these things are going to happen. We just want to be pragmatic about it and say, hey, this could happen. We need to be prepared for it. And like you said earlier, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
So,
and that falls into the category too with venomous of if there's a hurricane happening, then you're doing what you're supposed to do, then all your stuff is going to be locked up anyways, but not working with any of that stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, I know there's people dumb enough to be like, oh, there's a hurricane, no EMS, no nothing. I'm bored. I'm going to go clean.
Yep.
Croats.
Yep. There's 2 big rules for me. I don't do venomous after 10 p.m. unless I had already started. So, like, let's say I started at 9 and I go over 10. Like, I'm already in the room. I'm already doing stuff. Right. Okay, I'm going to keep going. But I'm not going to go up there at 11 o'clock and start. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, if there's a major storm, the animals are going batty. The low pressure comes in. The barometric pressure changes. The animals know that it's there. They're going to hunker down. They're going to be very scared and defensive. I don't need any of that. So for the duration of the storm, and as well as a couple days after, if that means their cage is poopy, they're gonna have a poopy cage. If that
Yeah.
means their water bowl is dirty, sorry, man, don't drink for a couple days. You know,
Yep.
I know it sounds cold, but I got to be safe about it. I have to be safe.
Yeah, and that was a factor with venomous and stuff that I didn't even think about until I think Kristen Wiley had mentioned it somewhere. Of if there's a thunderstorm happening, don't work with any of your stuff, because if the power goes out and you got a wet noodle on the end of a hook, that makes for a pretty shitty day. And then, I mean, obviously, if you're not feeling well, like if you're feeling off in any capacity, whether it's a cold or you're just tired, like whatever, same thing. Like if it's dirty, let it sit another day. It's not going to hurt.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
obviously,
that's a factor a lot of people, I think, at least going into venomous, may not think about. And it's
of course
stuff like that that's so important. It's easy solutions.
The worst scenario I've ever heard was that guy who got hit by the taipan on 9/11. He got bit by a taipan,
Yep.
and literally minutes later, the World Trade Center disaster happened, and the entire country's air traffic stopped.
Yep.
So they had to get special executive permission from the White House to fly a plane to pick him up, to take him to the hospital. And he was, from what I gather, he was the only airplane in the air that day because they were trying to save his life. So obviously that's an extremely extreme scenario.
Like a lottery level happening.
But don't assume that they're going to drive an ambulance to your house because you got whacked by an Atrox when they're out, pulling people out of buildings and stuff. It's not going to happen. You're not the priority,
Yeah, I mean, imagine, dude, getting bit by one of those and being like, "Yeah, I need help," and they're like, "Well, this happened, so everything's grounded."
Yeah.
Just ride it out until somebody gets there, buddy. Like,
yeah. Or better yet, people also don't consider this. After a natural disaster, it's a natural disaster. The roads may not be accessible. So if, God forbid, something happens and you get bit or you get injured or whatever, and you have to go to the hospital and you can't cross a road because it's washed out, or you can't cross a road because of a downed tree, or you can't cross a road because of power lines in water, and you're gonna get electrocuted and die. You know what I mean? Like you have to find an alternate route. So a lot of us, especially the venomous stuff, we have multiple hospitals written down with different routes. So if I know that, Smitty Regional is going to be my hospital, and I know, okay, it's I take a right out of my neighborhood, I take a left and I drive straight there, and it's on the right-hand side of the road. Okay. Well, that's only if I can take that one road. I need alternate routes. They may be longer, they may be more timely, they may be, scenic, whatever, but I need to have alternate routes to get to whatever pavilion or hospital or aid station I need to get to.
And do you just have that like old style MapQuest like printed out?
No, those are in my phone, but yeah, I should do that.
With like
hindsight,
route 1, route 2, route 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even that bite protocol, man, it baffles me that more people don't get those.
Yeah.
Like, as cheap as they are, there's no reason. Like, Pittman's still doing those, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he makes a good product. There's a lot of things in there that I don't particularly care for, but that's the beauty of you being a herper and a keeper, is you get to write your own, So
I don't know. He just made it easy. I had one just for North American pit vipers because I was keeping the Atrox and stuff at the time, and it was like $10, I think, with the folder and everything, like delivered to you.
Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't get any easier. And I even flipped through it and I was like, this is thorough. Like, the list of contacts was long. Standard sort of medical protocol for doctors to look at. Hopefully they don't just look at it, scoff, and throw it in the trash. But I would hope that enough doctors can put their egos aside and be like, okay, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah. And it's a lot different when you show up with a legitimate packet of information, say, here you go. They're way more apt to look at that and read that and take that on. Right. When you go in there and you say, look, this is what I need, this is what you're going to do, they're going to be like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
You're delusional. Are you on drugs?
That'd be my biggest fear, is being unconscious and showing up to the hospital, and then them being like, yeah, okay, so this is the information we have, but I don't think this is right. And so then they start doing just goofy stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are under the assumption that if they just go to the hospital, like they'll be awake and conscious and be able to speak eloquently and clearly. And like, it's like that very well may not be the case. How many times have we heard about people getting bit and they pass out in the parking lot of the hospital because they drove themselves or,
oh yeah,
and then people show up and they're like, well, this guy's passed out behind the wheel of his car. Maybe he's just drunk.
Yep.
But
I have no idea.
Yeah. And then, I mean, how long are you extending treatment because you're now having to figure out what exactly is going on? It's like, okay, yeah, he's, his hand's swelling up and it's turning black, but they see snake bites so rarely. It's going to be like, well,
exactly. Let alone something exotic.
Yeah. It's wild.
But on a brighter note, if it's summertime and there's a storm coming, you better put those puff adders together because that's money making material right there.
It's crazy how much of a trigger that is for so many different species, though.
I know, right? Man, the rain's coming. They know it.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, getting back to the list. So did you want to jump into the smaller lists or the more specific lists, or do you want to just leave that at that for now and maybe we retouch base on it for something else?
Probably leave it as is for now, and then I'll get in touch with like Christian Parr and maybe some of those guys out west and see if they have any extra input.
Yeah, man.
Maybe do a post in the group or something and people can throw in there.
Sure. I think it's a good idea.
Their items.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of some of the other stuff that's happened to me and friends over the years that has altered my way of thinking about particular topics. Going back to the, you never know how cold it's going to be when you go somewhere. Mm-hmm. Going back to my late mentor, Frank, he had moved from South Florida to North Carolina. And he asked me, he said, hey, would you be willing to drive my pickup truck with all the tanks in the back of it and then all the snakes in the cab with you, and then when you get up there, spend the night in the empty house, and then I'll fly you home the next day. And I said, of course, it's my pleasure. The man's a legitimate mentor. And so I did. And I had, what did I have? I had probably about 60 or 70 harmless snakes and then like 5 or 6 croats. And the croats were in one of my wooden hot boxes. They were individually bagged and then put in the hot box, and it was locked. And then I had, big Rubbermaid tubs full of deli cups and bags in the seat next to me. And I had a particular cichlid fish that was like his baby, his pride and joy. And I had that cichlid fish in a 5-gallon bucket with a D-cell battery aerator in the bucket, right? And I get up there to North Carolina and it was cold. It was like 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was like, man, what am I going to do with these animals? I don't have a space heater or nothing. I don't even have a sleeping bag. I didn't even think to bring that. So I went up getting lost. I pull over to an old gas station that had one of those old like crank gas pumps where like you pay the guy at the counter and then he literally turns the pump on and it's set to time, right? So you give him a $20 bill and that's, 2.5 minutes of whatever gas flow, and you crank it and pump it. And I went up going there, and the guy's like, oh no, man, you drove 4 miles in the wrong direction. So I turned around, I found the house. It was already like 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. And thank God the realtor showed up, and the realtor was like, hey, you're Phil. I hear you got a bunch of snakes. Here's a sleeping bag, a pillow, and a space heater. I'll turn the power on to the house. And I was like, solid, we're gold. Well, there was no smartphones back then. So I think I was listening to music on a radio or something. I don't even remember what I was doing. I was laying on the floor and I was like, man, I'm cold. This space heater isn't working worth a shit. I was like, you know what? Let me check the animals. So I look and like all the snakes are like limp and the fish is upside down. And I'm like,
Oh.
oh God, I killed this fish. It's a tropical fish. What was I thinking? So I put the bucket with the fish in front of the space heater. And then I pulled all the bags of the snakes up against my sleeping bag and then threw one half of the sleeping bag over the snake bags to like insulate them. And I just slept there with my jacket and a blanket I had in the car. And it worked. And in the morning, the fish was alive, perfectly fine. But had that woman not brought me that space heater, the fish would have been dead. And the snakes probably would have got RI or worse. So, thinking about where you're going to be, I was coming from South Florida. I didn't think that, September, October, whatever it was going to be that cold, but it was. So, do a little homework before you travel. I mean,
or yeah, having an actual like evacuation plan as far as where you're going to go, who you're going to stay with, kind of thing. If it's not going to be a hotel, a lot of people, like I got family in Tennessee, and that's pretty much where our first choice of where we go, because A, it's far outside of all the chaos and bullshit of an evacuation, and then B, it's spacious, and they live out in the middle of nowhere in a giant house, so it's kind of a good spot to go. So
yeah, oh yeah.
But I know, having been there, like I know what to expect sort of this time of year, because it's just like what you were dealing with. Like it is considerably colder out there, and they get snow in the winter all the time. So this time of year, it's definitely cooling off, and plan accordingly.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's just thinking everything's gonna be fine, and it's not, And I was in the middle of nowhere in a town I've never been to. I have no idea where anything was. I was literally using a paper map with Sharpie marker to like map my route. There was no, I think there was, it wasn't Google Maps, MapQuest. That's what it was. It was MapQuest. And those directions were trash,
Yeah.
But no smartphones, man. What the hell did we do? And then this is the worst part. So the next day, I'm like, what do I do? They're not going to be here for like 6-7 hours. So I call them. They're like, hey, if you follow the woods line, like the tree line, there's an old abandoned barn. Go look for some rat snakes. I'm like, okay, let's do that. I locked myself in the barn. I found like a 4-foot rat snake shed. And I was like, this is so cool. Let me go in the barn. And I go in the barn and I heard the door go. And I was like, oh, whatever. I grew up on a farm. I'll figure it out. And I'm looking around this barn and I'm flipping stuff over and moving old hay bales that were, decades old, dry, rotten hay. And I go to get out and the door won't open. And I was like, okay, don't panic. Figure this out. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how this was. And it had an old wooden latch that was on like a rusted hinge, right? So I wound up breaking off a piece of like plywood or I don't even know what the hell it was. It was just a piece of wood, and like sliding it through the slots of the wall and making like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a seesaw, a fulcrum point, right?
Yeah.
And I flipped it open, but it took me like an hour to figure that out. And I got out, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna sit in the house and play with snakes. So.
And then this fish.
Yeah, and the fish. Oh, the fish. I'll tell you, man, those aerators work pretty damn well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much any scenario, you're gonna forget something, or something's not gonna be as planned. But with the list and stuff, at least like I said, you're just eliminating the possible errors and mistakes and forgetfulness.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this too, is some people think it's a good idea to move their animal in their enclosure. And although it is easy, I do not recommend anyone do it. First of all, water bowls spill and flip, and substrate slides. Animals can get injured from decor hurting them or falling on them or whatever. And at the same time, it's so clunky and cumbersome to do that. I've seen it where, like, you know, guys are like, oh, I'm moving to a new facility. I'll just leave the animals in the rack. I'll take their water bowls out, and then I'll just put a dolly or like a hand cart underneath the whole rack and just wheel it into the U-Haul truck. Well, don't do that. Things slide, things jostle. I've seen it where, like, the drawers
open.
Drawers open. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't think you need to completely strip the cage, you know, if you're moving to a new facility or something, but definitely remove the animal from the enclosure. Do not leave it in its enclosure. If you have one leopard gecko in a 10-gallon tank and you want to bring the whole 10-gallon tank with you, okay, that's fine. No problem there. Or you have a dumpy tree frog and an exoterra, no problem. Nothing's going to happen. But when you have multiple animals in multiple enclosures, don't bring the enclosures. It's not worth it. There's too much space that you're losing with those enclosures. And if you are going to bring the enclosure, definitely remove the animal. There's just too much of a risk of injuring the animal.
Yeah, and that's with my racks, at least the ones that aren't BlackBox. I saved all the lids for all those tubs so that in the event that I had to pick it up and move, I just have the lids there, snap them on, empty the water bowls so that it doesn't slosh and create a swamp, and just grab and go. Same thing. And that makes me like, it would be nice if Vision or even Freedom Breeder or any of these tub makers made a lid option that you could do that same thing with.
Yeah.
I'm sure if that was an added option for people, I have no doubt that people would be interested in having lids for those, just to be able to slap them on. And even if you had enough, like, made them so that you could put them on and then put them back in the rack.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Absolutely. That'd be cool. That would definitely be cool.
I need another BlackBox rack.
Yeah. I gotta call Jen and figure out my next set of stuff. So, because it's time. I've been putting stuff off for too long, and fuck, I haven't even sent you your pictures yet.
Yeah, that Cambro rack, man, I love it and everything, but I was looking at the new XT3s with the front openers, you know, the single drop down windows, and I was like, man, if I swapped out, so there's 10 Cambro tubs in that rack, and they're all the big ones. I couldn't go 5 high on those, like in the XT3s, because that would be like, my ceiling is like 7 foot, give or take, 7.5 maybe. With those XT3s, I could only go 4 high, but I figure I'll have the Ackies in that XT4, and I'll have space on top of that stack of cages. So whatever I have left over, they can go on top of that.
Sure.
Like the other two. And it wouldn't free up a whole lot of, like, it's not going to make my room magically have more space, but it definitely would make things look a lot better. And that rack is just, I don't know, it's clunky. Getting the tubs out without spilling water bowls can be kind of tough because it's got those little ridges on the bottom, like the stabilizers. So if I don't have it like lifted all the way up, if I slide it in, it hits that bottom and water just goes everywhere.
Oh yeah. You gonna keep the tubs or no?
I don't know. Terry Burwell sounded somewhat interested in the rack, and he just finished his room, and I'm supposed to take the Cyania to him at some point. So I don't know if he has an interest in it, and be like, trade me a rough scale for it. We're good.
Nice. And dude, Graham Battison's in the chat. He says, good morning. I'm like, even good morning. You're waking up way too early, brother.
Right.
He's 5 hours ahead, and it's still too early.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to, I mean, eventually everything in my room is going to be BlackBox stuff. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Uniform, baby.
Yeah. And it just having those, even if it's not the single front openers, like just having those planted with just LEDs and stuff would look really freaking nice.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Has there been any jump in price from PVC builders post-COVID? I know the PVC sheet has increased significantly. Yeah, PVC has gone up for everybody. Shipping, freight has gone up for everybody. You know, it's unfortunate. A lot of people complain about the price of shipping and freight, and it's like, it's going to be with anybody you go with. It's going to be expensive. It's just the general economy doing its thing, you know?
Yeah. as the insurance company says, the cost of doing business.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to I need to plan out, take a look at what I have and what I want to get rid of as far as racks and stuff, and figure out what I need to replace them with, and what, if I can somewhat condense things a bit. That's why I do like those XR20 racks a lot, just because I can have the different tub sizes in them and stuff, and get the most out of it.
Yeah.
I do want at least another XR20. I think if I had one more of those, I could probably have just about everything that's a grow out or still a hatchling pretty much squared away. And then another one of the V70 racks would be nice too. I need to do that because I've got some stuff that's growing up that's needing that sort of final setup. So
yeah, I get it, man. Tell you what though, I got ARS in the brain, man. I really do. I just got no place to put it, so got to figure that out for the future.
They're nice.
They're expensive and they're big. That's the only thing. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you can't just buy one stack. You have to buy at least two, if not three. I'm short, so I probably would only buy two, but still, man, like we were at Daytona and Anna Marie and I were looking at it, and like she walked over and was like, touched it, and I was like, don't get any ideas, girl. She goes, I'm just looking.
Yeah. I really so the BioGs are working great for the rhinos, the adult rhinos that I have, but they're going to be needing an upgrade, which would where the XT3s would come in, but having them set up with planted, kind of like what they have now, just in a bigger version, man, that would look really slick because they're always out and about, and the pothos are freaking loving it in those things. Like they're literally growing up the corners and stuff now.
Nice.
So they look good. And then I have those two smaller rhinos that are in need of an upgrade soon too, because they're outgrowing those 6-core tubs quick. There's just, once again, the annual reorganization and shift of the room is just, it's upon me.
Well, like the normal people have spring cleaning, we have fall Tetris, autumn Tetris.
I hate having to reorganize.
I know, it's horrible. And I have so much stuff on timers now for like light cycles and like I gotta unplug everything and clean and ugh.
See, that in that way, I do love the BioGs and the BlackBox stuff because they have these tethers, so you can have multiple units plugged into the same unit, like the same switch.
Right.
So like all the LEDs plug into like this ganglia of inputs, and then it's all connected to one switch. So if I just want to turn on the BioGs, I just hit the switch and they all turn on, and they're all dimmable. And so I do love that aspect of not having to have a giant surge protector with 10 different lights plugged into 10 different slots. Instead, it's all combined into one, and it makes life a lot easier. Yeah,
you're still on the whole flip on the morning, flip off at night thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man, I don't know how you do it.
I don't. So I was thinking about this the other day too. There's the whole automation thing. Like, it's convenient to a point, but then my thing is I want to have to turn things on and look at things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it.
I know I'm lazy, so if I have all that stuff on auto, I'm not going to be checking on it as much as I should be.
Yeah.
So to have it and have to turn it on and have to be in front of that, that rack or that cage and look at it as I turn on lights and stuff. To me, that's important. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I'm guilty of it, man. I'm super guilty of it. And I've been having so many brownouts lately and not knowing it that like I check my Vivarium electronics like every other day now, just because I look at the times first. If the time of day is different on any of them, I know there was a brownout.
Mine blinks.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Like the display, like when your microwave or your oven, if there's a power outage, and how it blinks. I don't know, my Vivarium electronics stat does that when it's plugged in. But
well, so I've got 100s, 200s, and A300, and I don't, maybe it's the way I have it set up, I don't know, but I don't ever notice them blank. But if all of them, because they're all stacked on top of each other,
Mhm.
if one of them, if they all say like 10:02 and one says like 9:48, well, I know there was a brownout, and the real, whatever the real time is, give or take, I have to adjust for that. But the one that I have the Cerastes on actually has a night drop module, so that I can get it as cold as possible at night. And that thing is messed up. I have to mess with it because it won't go above 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and I don't know why. And it was giving me a probe reading of 99, which is what I wanted, because then it puts it at like 92 in the cage. But for whatever reason, it will not go above 88 degrees. And I think I just have to unplug everything and just start from scratch.
Yeah, or maybe you have a probe that's just needs to be replaced.
Well, I thought that, I thought maybe the tape peeled off, maybe the probe was dangling or something, but it's not. It's there. I put new tape just to make sure. But when I temp gun the actual heat tape itself, it's reading 88. So the probe's correct.
Gotcha.
It's just, it won't go hotter, and I don't know why. I don't get it. And then, the other day I went in the room really early before work and everything, and before everything turned on, and I have the AC blasting in there, it's just because I want it to drop at night and be hot during the day. And the room, when I temp gun the floor, this was the weird thing. When I temp gun the floor, which is concrete, it said it was, I think, 69 or 68. But when I temp gunned the Cerastes enclosures, it was 66. And I was like, that's really weird. I don't know if it's the sand keeping them cooler.
Could be.
But I thought that was really interesting. I had not noticed that. So I'm going to try and go in there early, more often, to kind of get an idea, especially after I fix the freaking night drop thing. So.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I like the Herpstats a little more than the VEs, is they have an alarm on them too. So you can set that to where if it drops below a certain temperature, goes above a certain temperature, it's a really obnoxious beep.
Oh yeah.
You cannot ignore, so that in that regard, I do like those a lot for that. And I only have the one Herpstat that's on my incubator, but if I had a choice between the VEs and the Herpstats, I'd just, based on the construction too, like the Herpstats are in an aluminum casing, that's a better build quality that I just.
Yeah. The VEs are very flimsy feeling.
Yeah, and I've had the same one of those for a long time too, and haven't had any issues with it. It's just, if I had a preference, I want something that's a little. I don't. If my clumsy ass drops it, I don't have to worry about it breaking into a million.
Exactly. Pieces, Yeah, cracking or whatever. I will say this. I totally forgot to mention this. I wanted to message you earlier, and I just plumb forgot. So Kevin Barron messaged me yesterday morning that Govee was having a Labor Day sale, and it was like buy one get 90% off or something.
Yeah, it was like almost like a buy one get one free kind of deal.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's
90% off. So
yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it, because I mean, it's technically still Labor Day, but if anybody's listening to this, go try it out.
I need to get at least another one or two of those. The three that I have, so one of them I can't even find. It's still on because I still get readings, but I can't find it. I don't know where it is.
And I ate it.
It's kind of hard to gauge where, because it's somewhere in the house. It's not in the room because it's cooler, like it's cold. It's in like the 70s.
It's probably in your closet.
I think it might be in one of my drawers or something. And then one of them just outright died because I was keeping it in an egg box for a month straight, and it got too wet, and I think just shorted and just no more. And then the other one, I think it's somewhere in the room, but I need to get at least another one or two of those, because those things, man, when I got them, I was like, these will be cool. I had no idea that I would be playing with those as much as I do, like putting them everywhere. Like, what does this look like? What does that look like? Like, what's it,
Yeah, man.
What's the numbers in here, and how's it changing at night and during the day? And it's actually a really good way to calibrate whether or not you're heating and stuff in an incubator's where you have it set. Same thing with like hygrometers for humidors and stuff.
Yeah.
I have a digital one, and then a Boveda pack that's supposed to put out a certain amount of humidity and be able to put them in there and know that it's accurate. I did the same thing with the Govies and the incubator. Like, I had it set at a certain temperature, and I was like, okay, I hope this thing's where I have it set. Just because with a homemade incubator, especially if you don't, it's kind of easy to misplace something and have it be off.
Yeah.
When you're putting the probe and stuff in there. So Yeah, it was really handy, and it turns out that incubator's spot on. So I'm really happy with that. But I want more of those, and then I want one of those. We've talked about this previously too, but those like thermal camera temp guns that have the little screen that show you.
Yeah. And now, dude, now you can get the one that plugs in the bottom of your phone for like $120.
Really?
Yeah, they're on Amazon. I don't know how well they work, but like I know the FLIR model, the actual FLIR brand is like $3 and change or $400. And that's like a whole back battery cell for the back of your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like your phone case is the thermal, but they make another one now that plugs into the bottom of your phone, kind of like those little credit card readers.
Yeah.
And then your phone screen is the thermal imager. Yeah, I was just looking at them on Amazon, like 120, 130, something like that.
It'd be awesome to be able to look at. There's so many things you could do with that, like to look at a box of eggs.
Oh yeah,
early term and then late term, and see sort of what the heat differences are, and if you're doing like maternal incubation, seeing what that is looking like.
Totally.
Cages, if you're not sure if a certain spot's getting warm enough or it's too warm, being able to look at that and visually see it. There's just so many applications for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Billy Jenkins asked if we pre-ordered a copy of the new Carpet Python Bible. I have not.
No, this week I got to pre-order that. I have to put in my pre-order for Scott and Ty's new book, and I'm going to try and track down that Atheris book this week too.
Yeah, I'm going to get that at some point. I emailed the guy and asked him about shipping to the States and stuff, and I want to say it was around about $150 shipped.
Okay.
Which isn't horrible.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at that second edition of the Venomous Bites from Non-Venomous Snakes, and that was supposed to get released back in June, and I guess this is like the third time that it's been pushed back because it's still not available and it's still on pre-order. So
okay,
get my hands on that too.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Even though I'm not sure, looking at the description, I don't know how much. I don't know if there's a certain rule as far as like new editions as to how much new information has to be put into it for it to be considered a second edition or third edition. But the description made it sound like there wasn't a ton of new information in it. So okay. I don't know. At some point I'm going to get that too.
Unlike the new Carpet book, which is doubled in size.
Yeah.
You choke a horse with that book.
Kill somebody with it if you want to do.
Yeah, right. Well, man, is there anything else you want to touch base on tonight?
I don't think so.
All right, man. I think we got a lot of good stuff covered.
Yeah, I'll get this sort of finalized and get it up on the website and have that link out for people. And,
hell yeah.
Then it'll be there for whoever wants it.
Excellent.
But this episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Best of the best. Drop the zeros, get with the heroes. Often imitated, never duplicated. You can wait a year to get your cages, or you can order through BlackBox and get them in approximately 2 weeks.
Lickety split.
And blink and it'll show up. New sliding options available on multiple models. New single drop down window options available on the XT3 and XA3s. And then Puget Sound Pythons, check them out. Facebook, Instagram. If you're looking for some ball pythons, they got some cool stuff soon to be available. And we'll be back Thursday for THP. Me and Chris are working on another Corn Stars episode, getting that lined up. And I think that's it.
Rock and roll, baby.
We will see everybody later.
Bye.